Hey, there's a phrase that I really like. That's a great question. And I was actually just about to tell you the phrase that I really like. The phrase is, talk is cheap. Turn to your friend. Tell him, talk is cheap. You know how it is. You're in the classroom. Your homie, well, maybe he's not your homie. Maybe he's like the new kid in class. Maybe he's the new kid in class. He's like, oh man, dude, you play basketball? And you're like, yeah, I play basketball. Dude, I've been on the team for 3 years, okay? And he's all, psh, I bet you I could take you in a 1v1. You're all, huh? Ain't no way he just said that. I'm in 8th grade. I've been on the basketball team all 3 years. No way he's taking me down. So you look at him and you say, talk is cheap, bro. We'll see you on the courts during lunchtime, right? I don't know, maybe that's happened to you before. It's never happened to me. Full honesty, I'm so bad at basketball. I'm just terrible at it. I was a gymnast growing up, and it's very clear to see anytime I play basketball, baseball, any ball sport. Man, that dude gave up his whole childhood to learn how to do a backflip because he cannot play basketball. Anyways, talk is cheap. And it really just means this. It means, until I see it, you could say whatever you want. I won't necessarily believe it, right? It's a phrase that all of us know. Talk is cheap. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Because sometimes people will just run their mouth, but their words don't mean anything, right? And while it's a good phrase, because I would rather see something that it's the truth than hear someone just talk about a bunch of lies and something that isn't true. I think that we've taken that phrase a little too seriously. I think that we say talk is cheap so much that we start thinking our words don't have any meaning at all. So I'm going to change the phrase tonight. You guys ready? So the phrase goes like this. Talk is cheap until it's really expensive. Talk is cheap until it costs you everything. Because the reality is this. Our words are really small, and we think they don't have a lot of meaning. But words have so much impact, so much power. And as we're going through our series, All the Small Things, and we're talking about all the small things in our lives that are impacting us in a big way, I want you to know how much power your words have. Yeah, they're a small thing. Yeah, people run their mouths and just say a bunch of things, but those words aren't meaningless. And in the passage we're going to read tonight in the book of James, chapter 3, we're going to learn just how powerful our words are. So let's pray really quickly before we jump into it. God, thank you so much for today. Lord, I just thank you for every single one of these students that's in the room. Jesus, the fact that they're sitting in here, it's a sign to me that you love them. Man, maybe they're experiencing a lot of hardship in their life because of words. Maybe it's words that people have spoken to them, things that are really mean to them that they've just started to believe, and now they're insecure about it. Now they're hurting. Now they just can't live their lives because of these words that have impacted them. Jesus, maybe they're having a hardship right now and a hard time in life because of the words that they are speaking, the words that are coming out of their own mouths. Lord, I pray that you would just speak some comfort to them, that we would just start off tonight with a reminder that, Jesus, you bring hope that tomorrow can look different than today. And I pray that you would just speak to them and help them to just enjoy learning about you. So Jesus, we're all ears. We want to know what you have to say about our words. So please just be with us and please speak to us. In your name, amen. We're reading in James 3. I'm going to read the first couple verses, starting with verse 3. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue is also a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Bro, that's kind of intense, don't you think? Like, we start off, you're like, dude, he's talking about horses, and he's talking about ships, and then he's talking about our words. Like, what's going on? What's happening here? And the first thing that you need to know about what we're reading tonight is that it's written by someone who is kind of like a pastor like me. His name was James. He was actually Jesus' brother. If you didn't know this, Jesus actually had earthly half-siblings. We believe that he was from God, come down in human flesh, but then his mom and his dad had siblings together. So Jesus actually had some half-siblings. I don't know if you knew that before. So James is Jesus' brother. And James didn't actually believe that Jesus was God when they were younger. But after Jesus rose from the dead, and he comes and he talks to his brother, he says, James, look, I know I died a couple days ago. I'm alive. Like, what I was telling you my whole life is true. Suddenly, James really believes Jesus, to the point where he becomes a key leader in the Christian movement. And he's this huge pastor in the city of Jerusalem. And he's writing this book, the book that we read in our Bible, the book of James. He writes it to churches all throughout the world because they were going through some hard times. People didn't like them because they were Christians. People were like bullying them because they were Christians. They were being persecuted because they were Christians. And there was a lot of pressure from the outside. You guys have felt a lot of pressure? Oh man, this person doesn't like me. Oh, I need to be better so that way this person likes me. There's lots of pressure on the outside. And the issue is, the church wasn't handling it well. The church was taking all these people on the outside that hated them, and instead of standing strong together, you know, in your sports team, like, I don't know if you played basketball, baseball, whatever, you know when the other team really hates you, so you get with your boys or your gals, and you're like, we're going to stand together, and we're going to win this thing. You know what I'm talking about? The church wasn't doing that. Nobody liked them. Everybody hated them. And instead of standing strong together, they just started talking about each other. They just started talking smack. They just started getting in fights. They just started stealing from each other and hurting each other. So James is writing this book to that church saying, hey, stop doing this, you guys. Like, there's serious stuff going on. You need to act like Jesus would. You guys need to come together and solve these problems. So this is what James is talking about. So he's almost, you know how I'm telling a sermon to you? And you know how I will use analogies? I'll be like, oh, this dude did this one thing and it kind of relates to this. That's what James is saying here. So when he starts talking about words, he starts taking small things that they would know about, and he starts using them as an example. So if you've ever seen someone ride a horse before, the way that you control a horse is there's this thing that goes in their mouth, and it's really small. But every time you move it, it actually moves the entire horse around. And on a boat, entire boats are actually maneuvered and steered because of this tiny little thing called a rudder that sits under the water. And in comparison to the boat, it's tiny. It's super small. And what he's saying about words is that in the same way that these small things move the entire boat, your words move your entire life. I don't know if you know this, but your words are powerful. Your words are powerful. We hold on to things differently when we know that they're important or they're powerful, right? I think of it like this. I hold my friend's phone differently than I hold my own phone, right? Your friend tosses you your phone, you're like, oh, whatever, if it drops, it's not my parents who are going to pay for it. But if it's my phone, oh, dude, I'm holding on to that thing with my life. Or maybe you'll hold your cell phone differently than, I don't know, a chainsaw, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to hold those things differently. When something is powerful, you just hold it a little bit differently than other things. When you know its importance, you hold it differently. And I think what we do, and I say we because I'm including myself, is I think we toss our words around without really thinking about what they mean. We kind of look like this guy on this video we're about to watch. His name's J.J. McCarthy. He plays on a football team in Michigan. He's a college football player. And there's this clip going around of him online where his coach is about to get this really expensive medal. He's about to get this really expensive award. And we'll see what he does with it here in a second. You might think that you'll hold on to it really nicely, but check out what he does with the award really quickly.
The Associated Press National Championship Trophy.
Did you guys see it? I don't know if you saw that. We can go and pause it now and you can just click over
The Associated Press National Championship Trophy.
Okay, see that? That trophy costs $30,000. And it's made out of crystal, which guess what happens when that drops on the ground? It shatters. Homeboy, toss it to the person next to him. Do you think you would do that? Dude, I wouldn't. I don't know. Some of y'all are nodding yes. I'm going to be real. I think you'd be out $30,000. No offense. I don't trust your football skills that much. He's taking this really important thing and he's tossing it around like no one's business. And I think that some of us, just to be honest, when we open our mouths, we're tossing around really powerful words, and we don't even think about what they're going to do. You see, your words are powerful. They direct your whole life. You see, when you say something, I'm going to believe you. So if you tell me that one of your friends did something, I'm going to be like, wow, that's crazy that they did that. I believe you. We need to do something about it. Yet I hear stories of people just like in middle school. I was talking to middle schoolers yesterday and I said, hey man, why do most of the fights start at your school? And they say, well, it's because someone started a rumor. Someone said something about somebody else that wasn't true, and it just got out of control, and next thing you know, they're going down the street to go fight each other in the middle of lunch. You guys know stories like that? Maybe your friends have done that before. What you need to know is when you open your mouth and you say something, people are going to believe you. And that's either a good thing because you tell the truth, or it's a bad thing because you're saying something that you don't mean. You're saying something that did not happen. And then all of a sudden it just goes like crazy and other people are doing all these things and everyone's believed you. And this person's life is ruined. I didn't mean to ruin their life. I just wanted to say something funny about them. The problem is when you say something to somebody, they're going to believe you. So when you say something about somebody and you gossip about them and you talk about them behind their back, we really wish that it stopped right there. We really wish that it didn't go any other direction. But when you gossip about somebody, when you talk about somebody, dude, there's real consequences for it. And I think that sometimes we just say whatever comes to our mind, and we just think that there's not going to be any repercussions for it. And maybe right now you're dealing with the repercussions of this. Maybe you open your mouth a lot. Maybe you say a lot of things about a lot of people. And now people are starting to not believe you because you become the boy who cried wolf, the girl who cried wolf. Man, I can't believe anything that person says anymore. Because they just run their mouth. They just say whatever. Or, man, I don't have any friends anymore because I've talked about all of them. Or maybe you're on the receiving end and you're saying, Santi, I know how much words matter because I live my life in pain because of everything that people are saying about me. Words are important. Words are powerful. And we need to stop tossing them around flippantly like they don't do anything. Why? Because they direct your whole life. The things that you say to people now take you somewhere down the road. So you need to be careful with what you're saying. Do I actually mean this? Do I actually know what I'm doing to this person when I open my mouth? Because it's powerful. It's going to impact things more than you know. Not only do words cut deep and they have power, but words go really far and wide. It says this right here. It says the tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the other parts of the body. It says that entire forests can be put on fire by a tiny little spark. The thing that you said now that was really tiny, it's not going to stop right there. It's going to go until you can't control it anymore. Okay, if you want everyone in your school to know about something, I'm going to give you the advice right now. If you want everyone to know about it, all you got to do is end your sentence with 3 words. Go to your friend, tell them whatever you want everyone to know about, and then say, don't tell anyone. You share something with somebody, and you say, hey, but I'm being serious. I don't want anyone to know about this. Don't tell anybody. Dude, you're going to come back from 5th period. The entire school knows. It's done. Why? It's on Twizzy, bro. Because people like to talk. People like to run their mouths. And when you speak a word, even though it's small, it spreads everywhere. So I just find it interesting that we're talking about the power of our words. And yet, honestly, there's a lot of talking going on in the room right now. And one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to talk about this is not because, oh, well, he's talking to the church. Other people need to stop talking. You need to stop talking. What we're talking about right now is not for the person next to us. It's not for the person on the right. It's for you. How do I know that? Because when I was reading this text, God said, Santi, this is for you. This is not something that just someone else has a problem with. This is something that we all have a problem with. And I would like for you guys to take the conversation seriously. Because I really think a lot of the issues that you're facing right now is because you don't know how to just not say anything. You don't know how to just say, you know what, I don't need to say that. And you're getting yourself in trouble because you just keep opening it. And you keep saying words that you don't know what they mean. I want to help you. I am here because I have done that. And I have kept talking. And I have kept on going. And I have not known when to stop talking. And the majority of the times that I got in trouble when I was younger is not because I was doing something wrong. It's because I didn't stop talking. And I just kept running my mouth. Your words matter. So if you don't mean it, don't say it. I hear so many stories of people being like, yeah, but I didn't mean it. Okay, nobody knows that. I have people making serious threats about themselves, making serious threats about others, and then they're surprised when somebody does something about it. Your words matter a lot. Your words direct your life. So if you don't mean something that you're going to say, don't let it come out of your mouth, because it's not going to take you where you want to go. Your words are powerful, man. Another thing about your words is that they're wild. Your words are wild. Verse 7, it says, all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. I read this story about a dude who lived in New York. I don't know if you've seen apartments in New York. They're kind of tiny. Like, they're much smaller than this room. Like, they're probably like the size of that sound booth sometimes. That's an exaggeration. But they're really small. And I hear this story of a man in New York a couple decades ago that had a full-grown adult tiger living with him inside of a New York apartment. He said he bought it for a couple grand off of a lion tamer from a circus, right? I just had a couple grand laying around. I just bought a tiger. I thought it'd be fun to live with it. So here it is. Guess how the police found out about his tiger? Tiger bit him. It didn't eat him, thank God. He said, I wanted to continue to grow my family, so I brought a little kitten home, and my tiger tried to kill my kitten. I could have told him that. And when he was trying to save the kitten, the tiger bit his arm. And he goes to the hospital, and they see these gashes, and they're like, wow, that's crazy, man. It looks like a tiger bit you. Did a tiger bite you, man, living in a New York apartment? Yes, it did. You wouldn't have a tiger living in your home because it's a wild animal that can't be tamed. Yet what Paul wrote a lot of the New Testament, that's why I said it. What James is telling us here is that your tongue is like a wild animal. It can't be tamed. Why do you keep running your mouth? Why do you keep saying things that you're not supposed to say? Dude, because your words, they can't be tamed. They just come out. And when a wild animal gets out and starts walking around, it starts biting people, man. And the issue that some of us have is that we don't think our words are what they are. Some people hurt other people with their words. Yeah, some people talk like that. I would never do that. I'm just having fun. No, I'm really nice to everyone. I would never talk about somebody like that. No. My words are nice. They're like a little kitten. I wouldn't talk about. No! They're a wild animal. It says no one has been able to tame their words. And this man was not taking his tiger seriously, and it literally bit him. And if we don't take our words seriously, they will bite you, or they'll bite the people around you. God made words. God made you to speak. If God didn't want you to speak and use your words to talk to other people, he wouldn't have given you a mouth to speak them. And when he made them in the beginning in the garden, it says that we were good. So we must have been made to say good things. You saying words is not evil. But the problem is that every single one of us is sinful. Every single one of us has a sinful, selfish nature inside of us. And it said in here that it got a hold of your words. And it says that the pits of hell, sin itself, has lit our words on fire. So just like you, if I'm not careful with the words that I say, I can hurt people with them. If I'm not careful with the words that I say, if I don't give them to God and let him control them, it's like a wild lion just roaring around. So some of you don't even know that you've got a wild lion just roaming around until you say that thing. And then it leaves your mouth and you're like, come back. Oh, it's gone. I already said it. It's too late. Your words are wild. And if we don't take control of them, it will light a fire in this whole place. And there won't be a single person around you that's safe. You won't even be safe yourself. So you need to be careful with your words. We learn something else when we read the next few verses. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. And I think the hard part with this, especially as Christians, is we're supposed to be saying good words to those around us. God has literally commanded us as believers to say the most important thing in all of history. We get to talk about Jesus. We get to talk about the Bible. We get to encourage the people around us. Part of being a believer and part of what I loved when I gave my life to Jesus was Jesus really wants you to encourage the people around you. He wants you to lift them up. He wants people to be happy that they had a conversation with you when they left, not regret ever talking to you. So the issue is, when we start saying things that are mean and evil and vile, is we're being hypocritical. We're supposed to be saying good things. And what he's saying here is, how would you feel if you went to go fill up your drink with some wonderful Sprite? You're like ready for the Sprite. Maybe you just had a long workout and you're like, oh, dude, this is going to be so good. Mom took me to McDonald's after and this is going to be great. And then you drink it and it's just that weird Sprite. It doesn't have enough syrup in it. And it's just Sprite. It tastes terrible, right? Or imagine someone put a packet of salt in your water when you're supposed to drink it. It's awful. When we say words that we're not supposed to, that's how people feel about us. They feel like they just drank salt water because of what we have said to them. And you were not made to do that. You were made to say good things to people. You were made for people to be glad that they hung out with you. You might be wondering, why when I try to make people happy, I try and be nice to people, I just try and say good things, it doesn't even do anything. They don't care. My good words don't mean anything to anybody anymore. I would ask you, what do you say behind closed doors? Because what it says here in James is that salt water and fresh water can't come out of the same place. And I'll say this, if you spend the majority of your time spitting salt water out, you're not going to be able to give people the fresh water that they need when you go and talk to them. So maybe you're in here and you're like, man, I just want to tell people about Jesus. I've been changed by him. I want my friends to be changed by him. Why am I having such a hard time? What are you saying behind closed doors? What do you say about those same people that you wish knew Jesus? What do you spend the majority of your time talking about? The good things that people have done? Or putting other people on blast? Salt water and fresh water cannot come out of the same place. And if we want to be good witnesses for Christ outside, the first place we need to look is, man, what am I thinking about them? What am I saying about them behind their backs? Am I pushing them on? Am I helping them to just speak kind words to people? I don't think you know what your words are doing. What we say behind closed doors matters because it will eventually come outside those doors. And if we want people to know who Jesus is, if we want people to know that, man, Jesus loves us, then we need to stop talking about them. And especially inside the church. When you're in connect groups and someone shares something hard that they're going through or something they did, we don't go and talk about them afterwards. Because that is one of the most damaging things that we could do to somebody, is talk about them behind their backs. You might even be right. They might have even done something wrong to you. But you know what Jesus says for us to do when someone's done something wrong to us? It says that we should talk to them directly. We shouldn't talk about them behind their backs. We should just tell them what they did and say, hey, I just want to make things right with you. And I don't think we understand. We just have a talking problem. And I'm saying Gen Z. We just think that if we disagree with something, that the first thing we do is just go talk about somebody. Well, they're not right anyway. I'm right, so I'm going to talk about them. That is so unbiblical. That is not what Jesus has asked us to do. So what I just want to talk to you about tonight, and as we just close, this is the last thing. The whole Bible is about Jesus redeeming all of the sinful parts of us. One of Jesus' favorite things is to take the thing that you are the worst at, the thing that you have done the worst. Maybe you've talked a lot of smack about people. And he wants to take your words and he wants to turn them into praising other people. Maybe you're in here and you're like, dude, well, I just feel really convicted and I just feel really bad because I talk about people all the time. Jesus doesn't want it to stay that way. And in fact, the whole thing that he did on the cross was so that way he could reverse that. And so that way you could become a person that doesn't gossip about people behind their backs, but someone who praises people behind their backs. What if instead of it looking like, ooh, did you see that thing that they did? Oh, did you see that thing that they were wearing? What if it turned into, man, they're so good at that. Did you see him sink all those three-pointers during that game? Man, he was so good at that. Isn't that so sick? And what if you're the person who doesn't talk bad about people, but starts saying good things about them? And what if when someone opens their mouth to gossip about somebody, you shut it down and you say, I don't want to talk about that person. They're not here. But I will say something that they did good. Because when we, as the church, just talk about people the way the rest of the world does, it just makes us look bad. And it just makes Jesus look bad. And it just makes hardship in our lives. So see why. Your words matter. You may think you're little and your words don't matter. They matter a lot. Will you let Jesus use them for good? Or will you continue to just let whatever you want come out of your mouth? Jesus, I thank you for today. I thank you for the time that we've spent together. Lord, it says that we can't control our tongue. In verse 2, it says that only a perfect man has the ability to control the things that they say as well. Jesus, you are the only perfect man that has ever existed.